Now we have a fireside chat on telco to techco powering for the future. I would like to invite Danish Khan, Senior Assistant Editor of the Economic Times, to moderate the discussion. Over to you.
Hello everyone, I'm Danish Khan, and for this session we have Bharti Airtel's Chief Product Officer and CEO of Airtel Digital, Adarsh. First, he's going to talk about and share his thoughts on digital transformation in the telecom industry in India, and then we'll start a fireside chat to discuss the whole concept more and what Airtel is up to. So over to you, Adarsh.
Thanks a ton, Danish, and it's my pleasure to be here. So let me get started on at least my thoughts on digital transformation and the telecom industry in India. So see, as most of you are aware, the last 4 to 5 years has been exceptional in terms of how the telecom industry has matured in India, how it's used new digital technologies to serve their customers in a much more efficient way, and therefore build a fantastic experience on which now customers are having a better time, and the sector is also looking better, right? As regulations are also kind of becoming more amenable, sector is becoming much more stronger. So under that umbrella, what I would love to share with you is at least the thinking that I've seen and have absorbed as we transform Airtel. And broadly, there are 3 things that I think is core to the innovation that you're seeing in the telecom sector. Number 1, the telcos in India are definitely investing in core transformation. Core transformation would include, let's say for Airtel, we've got the mobility business. We've got DTH, which is your satellite live TV business. We've got broadband, and of course the B2B sector, which again is providing connectivity to a lot of businesses. There's enormous amount of digital interventions happening in this core. So I would love to kind of share some examples of what that is in a second. But a theme that is resonating now in telecom is not just digitization, it's actually platformatization. So there is now a second huge initiative around platforms. And one of the simple ways of explaining what a platform is let us say there is product that is powering a particular activity. Let's take payments. So you want mobility to have a payment stack to help, consumers of the mobile plans to pay. You can say that has to repeat for the DTH business, that has to repeat for the broadband business. Well, why wouldn't you platformatize payments across these 3 businesses? It's a very logical question to ask, and that is platformatization. Write your code once, it gets applied in many places. That's a big change in the mindset of how the telecoms operate. Now, I would argue this can apply to any company that is transformed, but it's for sure happening inside a company like Airtel. So there is this big initiative, number 2, around platformatization. And third is a very interesting ecosystem strategy that Airtel has adopted, which is if we build platforms, any new businesses that we build should ride on the top of those platforms. So that is why for Airtel now there are 3 big plays: core innovation, platformatization, and then applying the platforms for new businesses. So this is how we are running today. It's a very smart strategy to apply. If you think about some of the biggest digital companies in the world, at their heart, you will see strategies like this, right? And you take any big technology player, you will see these ecosystem strategies at the heart of those companies. So we've adopted that at Airtel. Let me give you an example of each of these, so you get a sense of how much fun and how much impact this strategy is going to create. So let's take core innovation. Under core innovation, one very interesting change that's happened at Airtel is we've bought a program to market called Black. And what is Black? Black is nothing but our 3 core consumer services: mobile, DTH, broadband, all combined under one plan with one bill and seamless consumer experience. That's what it really is. But if you look at the digital effort that is required and that has gone in to build it, we literally had to think about an iceberg, right? The top of the iceberg is a Black program. All the technology powering each business is the bottom of the iceberg. We actually had to work on that bottom 3 times, make things connect so that the consumer now has one experience with 3 services. Big digital play, very quietly done. The outcome for the consumer is Well, I bought all services together, and then one bill came to my house. I paid for it. All three services are running smoothly for me. That's the outcome that they see. A lot of technology work on the back end to launch Black. And by the way, one of the largest growth drivers inside Airtel today, the Black program. So that's one example. Let me give you another example. And this is just to give you the breadth of how we think about digital inside Airtel. When we work with our partner ecosystem on our mobility business, so a partner ecosystem could be Paytm, PhonePe, Google Pay, they're all helping us take payments from our consumers. And that's a very big job considering how big the mobility universe is. Now, in the olden days, the entire connection between one of our third-party players and Airtel used to actually be human. Negotiations were human, phone calls. In the last couple of years, we have deeply partnered with the likes of Paytm and PhonePe to make that entire connection digital. Entire connection digital. So if today you're going to go on one of these third-party platforms, try to make a payment for an Airtel service, there is APIs between Airtel and the partner talking on your particular recharge. What's the advantage of this? My latest plans can be sent via API to you on PhonePe, so you can see it and get the best of what we have to offer. Earlier, all these plans were communicated once a month, leading to sometimes customer experience challenges. I bought a plan, it's not quite in market yet, and these sort of disruptions happen if you're not real time. This communication is completely digital in real time. It's very powerful. And there are many, many other benefits that comes from this sort of a digital handshake between a partner and Airtel. So that's yet another example of core digital thinking, making our businesses stronger. So those two examples give you a sense of how we're applying digital at the heart of Airtel. Now let me shift gears to platforms. I want to give you a very interesting example that is actually in play right now. So as you know, Airtel is a very large company. And if you look at the people who are out there serving our customers, we've got people who are installing broadband. We've got people who go to homes to do fault repair on broadband or maybe DTH. We've got salespeople on the ground who's actually going and selling our products to businesses, small businesses. There are variety of people on the ground who's actually making Airtel work. Think about the people installing towers. Large, massive force of people coming and setting up the tower infrastructure. There is a concept of workforce management. It's an app that you can give in the hands of these people who are on the ground, and there is digital inputs coming to them every day to optimize their workflow. For example, if you are a person who's installing broadband, imagine an app in your hand that actually tells you, you finished your job today, we've acknowledged it, here is your next job. And on the back end, there's a full digital data layer running, optimizing which is the next logical house to go and install the broadband, saving time, building efficiency, reducing cost to serve. This little product, which we call Airtel Work today, it started as a small project inside the DTH division, then got adopted to broadband, then to mobility, then to network. Today, it is powering 60,000 people inside Airtel in enabling them to do their job. And it is built as a platform. It is not built as an individual product. And that's very powerful. It's a platform on which all these different divisions are now enabling their people to come on it, and we are making them more efficient. Enormous help to the people who we serve, right? Because we are able to serve them more efficiently, which means our prices can be lower. It can be more palatable because we're efficient in how we handle the cost of serving them. So this is an example of a platform. I'll give you one more. If you think about payments, the example I gave you before, the reality was there was once upon a time at Airtel where all the payment stacks were separate. Today, very happy to tell you that that is now running on a single payment stack. It is far more efficient in cost. It is far more efficient in customer experience, because what then it allows us to do is every customer is treated as a single path to how they pay. And if I can make a fix in improving the payment experience, it goes to every customer, irrespective of which business they're a part of. And what are some of the consumer impacts of things like this? Think about the refund process. We can make the refund process flawless if a payment fails, because it's a single stack now across Airtel. If something fails, we can invest a lot of technology to detect the failure real time and immediately make sure our customers refunded. This second job to be done is something we are focusing on this year. On top of that, payment stack that we have built, it gives us the ability to do more for the customers because we are platformatizing payments. So that's two examples in the world of platforms. Now I'll take you to the third. The smart investments that Airtel is making today in building new categories of revenue and businesses is based on its platforms. So once we have done right by our core business, platformatized a particular job to be done, we then ask a very simple question. If I've got all these platforms, can I play a little game of Lego? Can I take a couple of these platforms, combine it a certain way, so now I can create a new business at a fraction of a cost? So we are sweating our assets better to drive new revenue streams. Now, to that extent, you've already heard some of the new businesses we've launched. We've launched Airtel Ads, which is a homegrown ad tech platform that runs inside of Airtel, completely privacy and data proof, where Airtel's own assets are being leveraged to talk to the customers on behalf of other brands. So you could imagine a Hotstar communicating with the Airtel base about their latest content plan. And this ad tech unit enables that. And we believe ad tech can actually be a great experience for the consumer. It doesn't have to be an annoyance. And there we are investing heavily in data. So our data platform and our distribution platform are the two Lego blocks that come together to build the Airtel Ads digital company. So that is Airtel Ads. Very similar to that, Airtel IQ. It is a cloud communications platform, which is nothing but a digital layer on top of our call, SMS, and video infrastructure. A business can now interact with Airtel digitally to take advantage of our call workflows and SMS workflows so they can design products and build better customer experiences. An example is Swiggy. You can imagine that there is a conversation happening between a Swiggy rider and a restaurant, or a Swiggy rider and a consumer. That entire connectivity of calls is digitized through Airtel IQ. And this whole thing is done via code now. You can ping Airtel's API, you can build your workflow, insert it on the Swiggy app, enabling seamless communication between that rider and the restaurant, or the rider and the consumer. And then you can do very fascinating things like, I want to ensure my consumer's privacy. I want to mask the call. I don't want the consumer's number to be visible to the rider. This can be done digitally now through Airtel IQ. So that becomes a second business. And like that, we've got Payments Bank, which is a big bet for us. We've got our entertainment divisions in Wink and Airtel. These are 4 bets in market that you're already aware of. And there are a few more that we are building. These are all creating new revenue streams for Airtel. So let me pause there for a second, Danish. It gives you a sense of how we are thinking. We're thinking core innovation, platformatization, new business. That's the theme at Airtel. We are learning, and we are learning fast from the best in the world. And hopefully someday we can claim to have those best practices deeply seated inside Airtel, making this a telco who's also a techco. A telecom company is also a technology company, right? So that's the high-level vision I would love to share, and would love to take any questions you may have.
Absolutely. So obviously my first question would be, like, obviously you have shared a lot of stuff. How Airtel's digital strategy is going to change or further take shape when it commercially launches 5G technology, which is almost in the coming future. So if you could give a sense, because 5G is not about higher speed for consumers, but the enterprises are going to get benefited, industries are going to see the change. How Airtel's digital strategy is going to fuel the 5G strategy as well?
Absolutely. And that's a great question. And this is part of the reason why telecom is such an interesting industry to be a part of right now. So when you think about 5G, there are 2 considerations, right? Because 2 years ago, we were thinking about, okay, 4G is going to move to 5G. How should we invest to make sure that our consumers have the best experience? Our businesses have the best experience. So the part 1 is actually the simple part, but it's actually very important. Everything I talked about today, the platforms I talked about today, they're going to work on top of 5G seamlessly, because we've already put the thought process saying the connection between the network layer and the digital layer should be thought through, so that when 5G comes, it just plugs in. So the beautiful thing is, at a very minimal cost, we'll be able to up our service and deliver that service to all our consumers and our businesses. So this part is the simple part of the story. And we are already preparing with 5G in mind, be it the network, be it the digital layer, seamless transformation from 4G to 5G, best experience for our consumers at the least cost. So that's happening, right? Now let's come to the fun part for a builder like me. What are the new things we can create now on 5G? And you rightfully call this out. There is a huge business play here. So let me talk a little bit about the digital aspects of 5G, both consumer and for businesses. See, on the consumer side, entertainment as a business is going to get revolutionized by 5G. You take gaming, you take video, even music. All these are going to see different consumer experiences come to market because 5G is enabling it. And I'll walk you through some of those things we are thinking about. And when 5G as a network matures in India, you can expect some of this to come from Airtel also to improve the consumer experience. On the gaming side, the big thing on 5G, the most obvious thing probably is cloud gaming. 5G is going to allow devices to be even more commoditized. So today, for example, you want to do high-end gaming, you have to go for a device that costs you 40,000 rupees and more. And sometimes much more, right? If you're a PC gamer or if you are a console gamer, all things included, you're looking 1 lakh or more in investment to get started. It's a lot of money that you're asking from a country that is largely mobile. With 5G, the devices can be further commoditized. They'll have new tech built in, but they're further commoditized, price points can go lower. And then much of the heavyweight of gaming processing could be in the cloud. That's a place where Airtel can have a big role to play, along with software providers in cloud gaming, publishers who build those games, bring it all together, take it to the customer, and create a fantastic new experience. So everybody can now participate in AAA gaming, and you can do that with devices that are affordable, leveling the play field for the gamers. Otherwise, it's not a level playing field today. If you go deep into the gaming community, you will see the haves and the have-nots. So this is going to level the gaming field, the playing field, and the gamers are going to rise. That's an important construct. I'm not even saying it from the I will have fun and I will game aspect. I think gaming can be a profession. I think people can earn livelihoods in the gaming industry by being creators. All that is actually now enhanced by this 5G aspect of things. Let me tell you what's going to happen in video. By the way, these are all experiments we are running with various partners, some of which we're building ourselves to see what's going to be right for our consumer and whatever scaling will bring to market. A very interesting experiment is today you watch cricket, and in most cases, it is a single camera experience. And the decision on which camera is made by the technology on the back end. Consumer does not make that technology choice. So one of the very interesting things that's happening with the advent of 5G is the people in this value chain are asking the question, I have the cameras on the stadium. The cameras are capturing these feeds. Can I give a multi-camera viewing angle directly to the consumer? Which means sitting on your remote, you're watching a particular shot and you want to see it from a different angle. You click a button and boom, the camera changes. And that control is with the consumer. These sort of concepts are possible if the backend now has 5G bandwidth and the latency is really short, which allows then more throughput, which means there is more content coming through. And then there's a lot of signaling that goes back and forth that allows these viewing angle switches and all in real time. This is a fantastic experiment we are running. And the way it's going to come to the consumer is you're watching it on an app. Now the app is allowing you to change the viewing angles. It's as simple as that. You might be able to real-time communicate with a whole bunch of folks while the match is happening. All that's now embedded in that app experience because 5G and related technologies are powering that experience. Even in music, this is an example I mentioned a couple of times. You could compose music real time. Drummers in one location, guitarists in another, singers in a third location. Let's say guitarist is in Bombay and the singer is sitting in Delhi. We could host a real concert, bring it to the consumers with all the actors being in different cities, all on the power of 5G and the software that is connected to it. All these are consumer experiences that can upgrade. So it gives you a sense of the fun that's coming with 5G, right?
Sure.
Now let's talk about business. Very important point. I think the first area that's going to get revolutionized with 5G is going to be IoT. See, today, if you look at IoT, and IoT means many things, so I'll give you a sense of the foundation and then some applications. IoT today is a 2G play in India. And shameless plug, Airtel is one of the largest IoT players in the country today. Our B2B division is the largest IoT player in the country today. And we are heavily 2G. And there's a reason for that. The economics of the devices, all that comes into play. Our businesses are also comfortable with that 2G network. That's all fine. With 5G, I think there's going to be a dramatic shift from the 2G network, 2G IoT to NB-IoT and similar technologies. I think it's coming. When this shift happens, the proliferation of applications that sit on this IoT stack is going to change. I'll give you a few examples of where I think the change is going to be dramatic. One, in auto. If the government also comes in on a big, clean energy, more automation to have smarter cars, the whole IoT game on auto is going to go through the roof. And there, if I compare to like a Tesla in the US market, Tesla is actually a computer. And it's got so many sensors and IoT devices that it can actually make real-time decisions on its own because of that connectivity to the cloud and all the sensors in the car. Those sort of innovations can actually be big time in this country. Maybe it starts with a very simple tracking, being super accurate and consistent. Maybe that's how it starts. But soon it can expand into variety of decisions around a mobile unit that is enabled by 5G. And that's important because latency is a critical play here. If you're trusting decision making with the car, then the decisions better be real time. And that means you need 5G bandwidth and you need 5G latency. So that's a great example of an area where you could see tremendous innovation. Another huge innovation is industrial IoT. So today, if you look at agriculture, if you look at big machine industries, all of them have various needs of IoT. For agriculture, it could be transmitting information around weather, soil, water, so that you can make smarter decisions. So that could be the agriculture play. On the big machines, it could be a maintenance play. I've got massive infrastructure running, and I need sensors to go detect it and make corrective actions real time so I can safeguard my equipment longer. This could be a simple example of a data center running cloud. Enormous innovation possible on IoT there to extend the life of the servers and such inside the data center. Or it could even be a heavy industry like a chemical factory, where you're monitoring the health of each of the machines, and instead of people coming and checking, the devices are so smart that they can check and start corrective actions. All this is possible in the business side of IoT too. So these are some of the application layer changes that I see coming as 5G lands in India.
Sure. Maybe a couple of last questions. First is, you mentioned about a lot of in-house products that you developed and launched for the enterprise segment, like ETTelecom, your cloud services, your security services. How in sourcing everything helps in your digital journey? Because in the past, all a telecom operator used to do is to outsource a lot of stuff. But now I'm seeing a lot of stuff is being developed in-house. You have your own teams, R&D people sitting out of Airtel's X Labs in Bangalore and in Gurgaon as well. How this whole strategy of developing in-house helps launching launching new services in digital transformation, getting more digital processes. So if you could give a sense of this on this new strategy that Airtel is adopting.
Danish, that's another excellent question. And before I answer your question, I'll probably spend a minute on the framing, right? Any smart builder always leverages three ways to go solve a problem. You can either go build it, which is a conversation that we're going to have. You ask me that question. Or you can go partner, which is what Airtel still does in many situations. Or you can go buy. So let me actually start from buy, go to partner, then I'll give you the answer on build, right? If there is somebody who's doing the job we want to go do really well, and we've analyzed it, and we've had a conversation with them and saying, listen, I would like to use you to solve the problem. Can we actually buy your service or buy your company? And if the ROI on that makes sense, my recommendation is please go buy. And if you're afraid of it being a core technology, don't buy the service, buy the company. And let's assume that the founder finds the price appropriate and we make that deal happen. If it is core, my recommendation is buy the company, because you don't want that company to be tomorrow bought by somebody else and suddenly your core is shaking. So that's the theory on buy, right? Buy the service or buy the company. Why go try to do it yourself if somebody is doing it so well? Step one. Step two is partner. Let's say there is a very non-core area for us. It's not core. It's okay if it goes down every now and then. If it's okay if there's a small vagrancy. We will partner with somebody to solve that problem. Let me give you an example of the call center universe. We actually man like 20 plus call centers. That is how we service our customers. Now, the concept of call center, there's a lot of technology, people required to go do it well. We believe in our partners. They do it really well. Should we go build all the call center technology and the call center inside Airtel? Answer is probably no. There are people who do it very well, and there are people with different strengths. Some people who've got good trained staff in English, others who can do a local language, some people who've got AI analytics running on the back end, different capabilities. We've taken a mix of partners and we've given the call center part outsourced. Powerful for us because the mix of partners, depending on the need, we can actually pick different partners. Let's say there's a call volume that's increasing in the north, 3 partners over there will take care of it. Had we done everything ourselves, it's a tremendous amount of cost to go maintain all this. So the partner strategy works well over there, technology and people. Now, why do we build? Let's get into that. Why is Airtel now then investing in an internal team? See, the new age of digital development is an agile world. You know, I grew up with Microsoft. That was my first job. And we used to live in 1 to 3 year cycles of software development. And 1 to 3 years sometimes was okay. I'm talking about like an OS, like Windows. It was okay because the world was not moving fast. You ship software in a year, whatever you thought in the beginning of the year is still valid when you ship at the end of the year. Okay. In today's world, Danish, you will probably accept this. Things are happening on a weekly to monthly basis. You think an idea is smart on a Monday, on Friday, somebody's already disrupted you. And if you sat the whole year with that idea, by the time you come to market, everything on the ground has changed. This reality is what is making agile more popular. So if there is a core business to Airtel, let's call it the Black program, let's call it payments, let's call it Airtel ads, these are core to Airtel. We will not win if we outsource that to somebody else and give them a project document saying, please finish the project and we'll see each other in 6 months. It's not going to work. Every 2 weeks, market has to be studied, competition has to be understood, and we have to be fast and agile animals to actually go put the code in market where the consumer is delighted. This philosophy is the root of why we are investing in digital talent inside of it. Digital talent, network talent, business talent, all in an agile fashion, looking at the market, ready to respond, 2-week development cycles, and we are landing stuff. That team is completely in source because there's a cultural change also happening, Danish. A project mindset and an agile mindset are, you know, it's like yin and yang. So we really need to basically make sure that the people here culturally are motivated to go accept change. You told me to build X on Monday. On Friday, you're saying, don't build it. We should change. I'm not accepting this. I'm not okay with this. Well, that culture has to seep in saying change is okay. We may change things based on market. We need people who buy into that culture and develop with us. So this concept of agile, the ways of working there, the culture required to support it. The only way we believe we can support that is by having the people with us. So this is the primary driver for that insourcing, while buy and partner are very fair levers that we can pull to go build a business.
Sure, sure. Since you mentioned culture and you are working with a lot of startups, you are acquiring a lot of startups and you are mentoring a lot of startups. How this cultural shift is happening? Are you seeing the results? Because Airtel being a traditional company and now you're working with a lot of startups, you are acting like a startup to build certain products. How that shift is happening? If you could share some examples, some tidbits about the whole cultural shift at Airtel with this. Maybe this is my last question. We can wrap up after that.
Done, Danish. And again, fascinating questions, right? So this is something I have personally thought about deeply. There are 2 things I want to call out. One is I want to talk about Airtel a bit, and then I want to talk about the Indian startup ecosystem and how there's a reflection on Airtel, right? See, the great thing about Airtel, when I joined Airtel in 2018, towards the end of 2018, one thing that fascinated me about Airtel is the company is agile and was agile all through its history. And the way Airtel operated was they always had lens on the market, always came back, thought about the right way to solve a problem, solved it, and then they put products in market, right? So this agility the company always had. The levers it pulled for that innovation typically could be a marketing lever or an operations lever. That used to be the past. Today, it is now applying a new skill called product engineering. So that's the way I see Airtel, right? Very fast, agile, nimble company. Today added a new skill to its repertoire, and therefore now we are still agile with the new skill also included. This was very helpful for us because mindset was agile. Now we just have to add these new skills. Now that's a part I loved about the company. Great. Now you asked a very important question, the startup culture. See, here we had to grow. Startup has a very interesting way of operating. This agile business I talked to you about. When you put a piece of code in the market, we don't know if it is perfect or not, but it is taking care of that job for that moment. If it's perfect, if it's ready to scale, we invest. This was very different for it. When it launched the mobility business, when it launched the DTH business, it invested at scale and then said, we are going to win. And we marched. Agile doesn't work like that. We don't invest at scale for any of our new businesses. Ad started as a 5-person team sitting inside Wink. And that's how ads started. There was no claim to fame saying we're going to be an ads company. We actually started building revenue with minor investments. As we started seeing it work, we invested again, we invested again. Now today we have the confidence to say Airtel Ads is a business. This culture was very new to it. And therefore imagine a business leader saying, what is the projection for ads 2 years from now? When we have just started incubation. Well, the reality is there's no projection. All we know is there's a market. And we do know that we have a capability. We believe this can be matched. So to tell us the projection for the next 2 years, we actually cannot. So finance was actually very upset with us, saying this is bad because I can't plan. And my answer was, well, we got to change our mindset. I can plan month to month. I can give you stuff month to month, but you cannot ask me what's happening 2 years from now because we're learning. So this culture has deeply seeped into Airtel today, in the way product engineering works, in the way marketing works, in the way operations work. And that has got tremendous benefits because now operation teams are willing to test a new technology. They're not asking us for, make it perfect, then I will start. No, they'll take a small unit, they'll take the new technology, they will iterate. And if that unit proves itself, they will make the second unit adopt. Operations teams run like this today at Airtel. So that has been a cultural shift. And this has taken management discussions, deep training programs into Airtel, investing in talent, cross-pollinating talent, everything has happened in the last 3 years. And by the way, Danish, it's not done. We are still investing in this change, probably will take many years before we can truly be saying that this is a culture we'll all support, develop, and grow. The intent is there. People takes time, and we're going to take the time to get there. Now coming to startups. Because these changes are happening inside Airtel, and you can go test this with many startups in India today, the conversation with startups are also getting better. Our approach to investing in startups are getting better. So we have a startup accelerator, and we've got a $50 million fund to support these companies. It's all ready. And we are having conversations like VCs, venture capitalists, with these startups. And therefore, the adoption of the accelerator is also now much stronger than maybe where Airtel was a long time ago. So that conversation is getting better. We tell the startups that we are a startup. So please, think about us not as a big giant telco company. Think of us as a startup. Let's co-create. And whenever we see a win-win, let us invest in you and we'll work together. And let's build value together. Our objective is not to say, I'll take 100% of your company. Let's build value together. Let us help you become a $1 billion company. These are conversations that the startup founders are loving. So that would be the way I'll round off that conversation, starting with cultural change at Airtel. We were always agile. Now we've got this mentality of how to bring product and engineering in, new ways of working, to the extent that now it's affecting how we talk to startups. And that's been a great story so far.
Right. Always fascinating to learn from you how Airtel is navigating through these times, not in the telecom space, but in the technology space as well. And always a pleasure to meet and talk to you. Thank you, Adarsh, for this chat and for this fireside chat. Thank you very much once again. And look forward to more meetings in future to get more updates. Thank you very much.
Thanks a ton, Danish. It's my pleasure as always.
Thank you, gentlemen, for bringing out the best from the discussion. Now we'll proceed further and see what's next.